Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5. So, folks, as you've probably noticed, we are in a Batman mood this evening, and I'll tell you why.
Been in a Batman mood for like a week.
Yeah, we got some interesting Batman stuff coming up. One on the animated Batcave for sure, but also, the very recently we've had DC original animated films. They've released their 40th film, which, of course, now they're done with the whole in continuity line. It's a shame because they finally got good towards the end, but the point being, it's done. It's over. We're moving on. We've seen Superman's big splash with Man for Tomorrow with the new creative team and such, and now we have Batman's the first stab at a new Batman project, and of course, Batman over an 80-year character reaching over 80 years at this point. How can we shake things up? Well, this film presents a very interesting what if. Like, what if we kind of took a 70s stab at the Batman? Of course, 70s was a big year for Batman. Let's kind of take that and let's take all the great things of the 70s, put in the blender, and see what happens. And we have Batman, Soul of the Dragon.
Yeah, so Dragon, I honestly don't have a ton to say about this one, and that's why we're not doing a full blown spoiler cast on it. But suffice to say, I did enjoy my time with it quite a bit. I mean, like you said, just kind of like having all the '70s influences, specifically I think the two main ones. I think we would agree are blaxploitation and kung fu, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, definitely big, the old martial arts kung fu, flair of the '70s for sure, which definitely leads itself into blaxploitation. So yeah, it's all
Uh-huh.
there's a also some espionage in there. There's some kind of kind of weird culty
Sure,
stuff.
sure,
There's a bit of
sure.
all.
Yeah, so it's just like it's an interesting blend of things. And Dragon, you know, I'm a man who enjoys a good ending, specifically one that kind of just puts a very solid punctuation at the end of things and leaves things maybe a little bit ambiguous. So suffice to say, I was satisfied in that regards, Dragon. This movie is literally like the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride of Batman movies. They end up in hell. Spoiler
Pretty
alert.
much, pretty much.
I don't know if I had a. I don't really have very many complaints with it. It's just a pretty well done, fun ride. I think maybe there's a little bit too many flashbacks, but you kind of need them to get all the, all the emotional, you know, through lines out of the way. So I don't know. Like I said, Drag, I don't have a ton to say about this, but I did very much enjoy my time with it. It's probably my probably the best, or probably the best time I've had with a DC animated film since I would say maybe the I don't know, the trying to think of one that I really enjoyed, the
Red Sun.
Red Sun, Gods and Monsters
Oh,
too.
there you go. Yeah, there's another
Yeah.
one. All right. Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. So first of all, Dragon, what's your thoughts? And second of all, I'm sure is there any sort of comic backstory for this? I'm sure that Richard Dragon is probably a comic book character. I'm willing to bet. I'm sure most of these people are. I'm going into this like, as I do with most things Batman related, I'm going into this as a casual fan of it where, I appreciate all the genre meshing and everything going on, but I have no idea who most of these people are except for obviously Batman himself. And that's one of the things I will say right off the top before you get into everything. That was probably my favorite element of this, besides just the genre matching and the ending of it all. Is I really appreciated that this is a Batman story where Batman definitely takes a back seat, but when he shows up, he makes an impact, but it doesn't feel like the Dark Knight Rises, where it's like when you're waiting for, you're just like, where's Batman? God damn it, it's been like an hour. It's more so just like, all right, like we got a lot of good Bruce Wayne espionage. We got a lot of good focus on some pretty solid characters outside of Bruce Wayne. So, and most importantly for me, Dragon, probably the most refreshing thing about this, honestly, is that we don't really dip our toe into the familiar Batman rogues gallery at all. And as much as I love the Batman's Rogues Gallery, there's only so many times we can see the Joker pop up or Catwoman pop up. It's like at a certain point, it's just refreshing to see an entirely different take on things. So with that in mind, yeah, I had a good time with this.
Right. So yeah. So I really like this. I really love this movie. Being bold and doing seeing DC being bold and doing fun movies. Plus, what these DC animated films should be doing, which is showcasing the lesser known DC properties, pretty much as our kind of our ensemble cast would prove. Yeah, because again, basically your experience, I think, is kind of what they should be aiming for. Where again, if you don't know these other three characters, which I mean, I knew, not counting Batman, the two out of the three.
Yeah, I think I'm like vaguely aware of who Ben Turner is, Dragon. That's about it, honestly.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So it was kind of nice to kind of get the first taste of who this Richard Dragon character is, and there's some interesting stuff on him. But yeah, so that's the thing. Like they've done these shorts before, DC Showcase, and I like that kind of the films thematically are kind of embodying what those shorts were, where we kind of taken an obscure, like kind of a deeper cut DC character, and we kind of put him in the narrative, and we kind of expose more people to him. But the good news is we can do this without having to worry about like a whole incontinuity thing of like, well, hey, we're introducing this character to people, but he has to fit into this box that we've built. We're just doing it's in the 70s. It's fun. We're gonna introduce him through this vein. Anyway, so the big thing, the big takeaway for me with the film in total, and what I think works about it is that it's such a great idea doing this sort of story via via Batman, which kind of gives off sort of a kind of a Batman Brave and the Bold crossover vibe, which was kind of one of the cool things where you take that kind of that premise of the Brave and the Bold comic or the animated show, where it's okay, it's Batman with kind of the lesser known DC characters, and Batman's are in, and we learn something, and he learns something about himself. Pretty straightforward, and it's not just the 70s movie, and because of that, it's not just the 70s movie for the heck of it. It's like, hey, let's put Batman in the 70s. No, it makes sense given the martial arts focus. So yeah, it's a kung fu movie that features Batman, and we know Batman knows kung fu. He knows all sorts of fighting, and so it's an example of story and the gimmick blending really well together, and leads to a lot of fun. And also the noteworthy thing, now there is no post-credit scene for this film, Tiki, but at the very end, I don't know if you saw it. It's a nice little in memoriam, little tribute to Denny O'Neil. It says Denny O'Neil from the state 2020 when he passed, and of course Denny O'Neil Denny O'Neil he's the reason for the 70s Batman. The Batman, we don't get the animated series Batman. We don't even get the Frank Miller Batman without what Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams did on that book. Denny O'Neil was like the returns of the world's greatest detective Batman. The globe-trotting Batman, the Ra's al Ghul versus Batman era, like the very kind of Bondian years for Batman. That's all Denny O'Neil. So of course this movie and pretty much the whole ensemble cast, if I recall, are Denny O'Neil characters. So again, the whole thing is quite the love letter. So it's quite nice and quite beautiful in that respect.
Not just a love letter to an era, but it's a love letter to a specific creator as well. That's a cool notion.
Absolutely. All right, so I got some background just to kind of to go through some background here, and we'll kind of see what fancies us in the conversation. All right. Okay, so Bruce Timm loves the 70s. He's pretty much the, Bruce Timm. We do have the new crew going forward on this, but Bruce Timm, he executive produced this, as in he pretty much, from what I understand, he had some design input and he brought the concept to the table. And basically, Bruce Timm loving the 70s, having grown up in it.
So this isn't based on any sort of arc or anything, right?
No. It's just that Batman. It's kind of like, again, the whole Denny O'Neil of it all. It's just like we're going to use Denny O'Neil characters and just kind of a 70s vibe, because Batman was, had like a very specific version of himself in the 70s, but we're not adapting anything straight on. Like this isn't one of the adapted stuff.
Gotcha.
So basically, he's kind of pitched, like, okay, let's kind of do a story about Batman and kind of the DC universe as a whole in the 70s, and Bruce Timm's kind of toyed with this in one of the shorts, which is about the Spectre, which was set in the 70s. So we've kind of dipped our toe into this.
I'm so glad they resisted the urge to do the Joker as like some sort of jive pimp or something like that.
Oh, God.
No, you could see it, though, right? In lesser hands.
I mean, maybe. Let me put it this way: you can take
like
that really...
maybe not explicitly a pimp, but definitely like in that sort of style,
Maybe. Anyway, so the writer on this, again, this is some of the new blood we have on the movies going forward. We have so far the next three projects is Man of Tomorrow, Batman, Soul of the Dragon, and the next movie, Justice League of America, WW2, World War II. These are all written by the same guy, Jeremy Adams, who I got to tell you, so far everyone's been loving his work with Superman and this. And I got to tell you, I saw the sneak peek of the next movie. It looks great.
Nice.
So Jeremy Adams is on this, and he kind of realized kind of the cross pollination here of like, okay, wait a minute, let's take the '70s, which is a big year for Neil Adams Batman, and what if we correlate it with the other big hallmarks of the '70s, like the martial arts, the espionage of the Bond films, which are getting really big at this time, and kind of the weird kind of murder cults and everything. Let's just kind of mix them all together.
Oh yeah, that's another thing I totally
Yeah.
forgot to mention is that this thing totally has an Indiana Jones vibe to it as well.
Yeah. Exactly. So we could, and again, like let's do some of the other O'Neill characters. Of course, would be like Richard Dragon, Bronze Tiger, and Lady Shiva. And thematically, again, one part O'Neill tribute, other part kind of tribute to one of Bruce Timm's favorite films and a lot of people's favorite films. It kind of makes its way into a lot of Batman stuff. Enter the Dragon. There's a huge Enter the Dragon love fest in this movie. As you can probably imagine. Just looking at Richard Dragon, you can kind of picture it. So that's a big thing too. Richard Dragon did not look like Bruce Lee in the comics. That was a big kind of idea for the movie. And again, like Bruce Timm's always been aching to do an Enter the Dragon, DC movie, because if you look at Dark Knight Returns, we have the Hall of Mirrors sequence, with him fighting the Joker, and in the big, big X set piece, before the Tunnel of Love, very much Enter the Dragon. So you can imagine it's really hard to animate martial arts because you have all the different styles to factor in there, and all sorts of things. Like one guy knows judo, the other guy may not. Basically, unless you're Avatar: Last Airbender, it's going to be really hard to do fight animation, let alone this much, and the '70s too. And last fact here is that so this is an ensemble cast in many respects. One of the O'Neill players, but also they used actual fighters, with the exception of the actor playing Batman. The other three of our ensemble are actual kind of stunt performers and fighters in real life, as well as actors. So like you had Michael Jai White, as Bronze Tiger. You got Kelly Hu as Lady Shiva, and Mark Dacascos as Richard Dragon. Like the guy from John Wick 3. Like the fanboy of John Wick in that third one. Yeah, of course, Michael J. White, Gamble from The Dark Knight.
Sure.
Anyway. So, a little bit of third act being a little Big Trouble Little China, hence all the John Carpenter weirdness and all the snaky stuff. That's very John Carpenter inspired, and that Bob's your uncle. That's pretty much the background.
All right. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think this movie, let's get into the flashback structure of it, Dragon, because like I said, that's probably I get why they did it, because there's a lot of background you need to get to with these characters and why they're protecting the gate and everything. I don't know. That's the one qualm I have with it, is that I feel like at certain points, especially when you're about to cut to a fight or something like that, I'm kind of just like, oh man, I was really into that.
Well, I got to tell you, on the whole, with the plot and with the flashback structure, I thought it was pretty efficient structurally. We have it's very, on the whole, it's very Magnificent Seven-esque. We're building the team, we're getting the team together. In this case, we're getting the old gang back together. It's sort of this logical. Okay, so Bruce Wayne is trained with these guys and these other skilled fighters, which kind of makes sense. They all have the same sense. They all have like a unified link, and we're kind of finding out. Kind of what was the last thing that went down with all these guys? It sounds like something bad happened. And, again, just, the main plot point being we're going after the gate and then the soul breakers. So basically everything, I like that the flashbacks kind of lend a little bit of exposition without spelling it out. Like, okay, so we're going to this person next. Why are we going to this person next? We have a flashback that shows you how they were then to where they're at now, which, I don't know, I liked how kind of streamlined and straightforward it was. I kind of like how it filled in the blanks and kind of had a little bit of kind of characterization in a movie where we're kind of going pretty fast through it,
Yeah, sure. Okay, Orange Crush is in the comments. Orange Crush, by all means, please guide the conversation, if you will, because, like I said, I appreciate this movie a lot. For some reason, I just don't have a ton to say about it. So,
well, let's talk Batman. Of course, guy's name made the title. We should talk about him.
Well, like I said, I think it's interesting that we have I mean, what Batman? If I'm being generous, he maybe has 15 minutes of screen time. Maybe.
Well, in the suit, sure, yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. I like the idea that like all these guys have have kind of like different all. Well, Orange Crush. Let's maybe like I can answer questions like that, but we should probably stick to this movie in particular if you don't mind. But favorite Batman actor, Dragon, just to throw it out there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, easily if we're talking just period, and it's Kevin Conroy without hesitation. But I mean, if we're talking live action, I guess de facto Christian Bale. Yeah.
I wouldn't say defect. I'm still a Keaton guy. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
look, Keaton's great, but I'm saying again, you look at Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, and that's I'm saying, come on.
All right, but yeah. Anyway, sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
Okay, well, we're starting with you like the whole the fact that we see more Bruce Wayne than Batman. Am I correct in that, or?
Yeah. He like I like the idea that all the characters have this kind of like alternate like lifestyle. Like they all have either with the Bronze Tiger of it all, Shiva being this kind of like underlord criminal, obviously Batman, and then Richard Dragon being kind of like a Bond type. I feel like that worked well in terms of the ensemble. I think that I will say I don't necessarily think that Batman is that intimidating in this movie. Like honestly, you could have done the whole movie without. I feel like Batman is more of like kind of like the theme of the movie more so than anything that he actually does. Honestly, besides the Kate bit. Because really, this could have been a Bruce Wayne movie, Dragon. But I'm not saying that as a knock against it. I'm saying that it's an interesting take on what a Batman movie could be. Because of course, with Batman, most of the time you want to see him in the suit, you want to see him kicking ass. And in this movie, he kicks a lot of ass. But like I said, he's really only in the suit for like the first team up fight and then the last fight, and that's really about it. And like I said, besides some minor trickery here and there, and then the big cape moment at the end, there's not really a ton that he does that he couldn't do as Bruce Wayne. So the presence of Batman really is more about like Bruce Wayne finding himself and the dual life of it all and how it reflects on the main characters.
Yeah, DC was a little worried about the lack of Batman in the suit, by the way, which I want to say I don't know if the third act. Basically, there again we have two kind of set pieces with him in the suit, and I want to say one of the set pieces probably added to appease DC if I'm a betting man. It's
Right.
because that's the thing. Bruce Timm was very like, oh yes, I love the fact there's a lot of Bruce Wayne in this movie because again, it was his favorite stuff, and again, some of the great stuff in the movie is it's Bruce hanging out with Richard Dragon. It's just at the start.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, here's the thing. I really like I like the sparing use of Batman as well. I like that. I respect that it's a Bruce Wayne centric story. I just love everything. I really love everything about this kind of this Batman that we're working with here. And that it's a great take on '70s Batman. It's the early years. I like this idea that he has like this nightclub, Gotham Knights, the club, where he uses it to spy on criminals for Batman the Target Lair. We didn't even get to see that in action, but I'm already in love with that idea. It's like, oh my god, that sounds great. A nightclub to help the war on crime, and he's still kind of new at things here. Like he hasn't worked up the nerve to go to Shiva yet. Okay. We have Silver St. Cloud. She's I believe, a deep '70s pool as well. Where Silver St. Cloud's like a one of the famous and tragic Bruce Wayne girlfriends.
Yeah, I pretty much only know about her from Gotham.
Unfortunately, but this is a better version. What you see here is infinitely better than that, as you as you can tell. But that's the thing. Basically,
like 2 minutes of screen time.
Still better.
Right.
But anyway, so that's what I'm saying. I like that Silver St. Cloud in that moment there. She kind of tees up something for the Bruce Wayne story here. Is that she's like the price of dealing with the dual identity. It's like it's the perfect entry for it's the perfect entry for Bruce Wayne's past. As we're going to get into it here. I'm sorry, basically as like she's rejecting him for like the secret that he's keeping. Perfect entry for Richard Dragon, like the dredge up the past, and more importantly, Bruce Wayne's past, because kind of like Batman Begins, this is very much, these are very much stories that show the layers of Bruce Wayne that later on get woven into Batman, which are really interesting. Now, again, we get to see a Bruce Wayne. The Bruce Wayne gets the crap kicked out of him, seen in this movie. I mean, utterly the crap kicked out of him, and usually you don't get that with Batman. But again, we're showing kind of the formative years of the Batman. It's kind of interesting to see that.
Gets the crap kicked out of him to earn respect, Dragon.
Yeah, and Rice.
Oh, God.
No, but yes, he does. But you see what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, I like that. We're kind of using the story again, mainly Bruce Wayne folks, to kind of show the layers, peel back, and what goes into. Again, he's still the kid who lost his parents before he's Batman. That's kind of the point of the story, and we're kind of showing that again. Anyway, I'll tell you one of my absolute favorite scenes in the movie that relates to this. The stone lesson is probably my favorite scene. Lesson with the Rock.
Uh-huh.
I love The Rock was such a great way to demonstrate what separates Batman from the rest of the ensemble, and that they're all really great in different ways. They all bring something very special to the table. And what we show with the stone bit, if I believe we want to spend more time, I could walk you through how the stone represents something different for each of these characters, but I won't. I'm just going to focus on Batman here. I love that we represent Batman's drive and his determination. My favorite things with the characters, along with saving people, is that he's fueled by the vow. He's fueled by the vow, as he just punches at this stone. The object is you're going to break the stone by hitting it. It's going to take a lot of doing. And we just have this wonderful metaphor by the O-Sensei character, is that the stone is representative of evil. If you break the rock, you're going to have pebbles. And if you break the pebbles, you're going to have sand. It's the idea that evil is as eternal as rock. It's a genius idea. I just love that as a symbol. And I love that we just see Bruce, even though he knows, it's spelled out to him by O-Sensei. Look, I told you to try. You're not going to be able to do it. It's a fruitless effort. It's the journey getting you there. It's important. It's that he's still going to try to break that rock and break that sand. He's going to, again, it's the never-ending fight. It's great.
Yeah, nice.
There's something by Orange Crush. There's some favorite. Oh well, let's take it, and then we'll apply it to the story here. Okay, favorite Batmobile and suit.
I gotta say, in terms of Batmobiles, I've got a weird thing where I actually really like the Schumacher Batmobiles.
Please tell me you like the Batman Forever Batmobile before you like the Batman and Robin.
I'm just saying the Batman and Robin one was specifically designed to be toygenic, and it certainly is, and I like it. I like that. I'm not saying it's the best Batmobile ever. I'm just saying, it personally fits my aesthetic.
God.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Look, you're looking for a hot take, right?
No, I was looking for you.
I mean, for the favorite suit, I've got a very boring answer for you, and that's Keaton Batman.
Okay, let me ask you this: do you like the return suit better than the '89 suit?
No, I like the '89 suit.
Mm.
But honestly, Dragon, a big part of that is probably just because the '89 suit is prominently displayed in the station for Batman: The Ride at Magic Mountain. So
that's cool. Again, for me, it always bugs me in that '89 suit. He's got the little bat feet on the logo. Why does he have the little bat feet on the logo? The whole movie sold just the bat symbol. How did they get that wrong? I mean, for me, again, pretty simple, pretty stock answer. Again, best, the best for both those animated series car. I mean, I'm in love with that car, and also just by proxy, that bat suit. I mean, come on, it looks great. All right, but so we'll talk about the look of Batman here. What do you think about the design of this Batman?
I don't like the pointy ears.
Okay, fun story about that.
It's one of the few aesthetic things in this movie I'm not a fan of, honestly.
So here's how we.
When I was talking about him not being intimidating, that's kind of like what I meant. It's hard to take him seriously with the pointy ears, but yeah, what's the funny story?
Okay, so Bruce Timm, for years, he's always kind of toyed with the idea of doing the Neil Adams Batman animation. Which Neil Adams Batman animation is really hard because there are a lot of lines on it. You have too many lines on something, it doesn't animate well at all. So for years, he's always kind of pondered doing that. And see, the other thing is that when you put him in that suit, which is ordinarily it's like a blue cape and cowl, it looks a lot like Super Friends, which you don't want. And so recently, and we've talked about this, Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they did the perfect iteration of the Neil Adams Batman. Looks fantastic, but Bruce Timm didn't want to just copy that because that was perfect.
You know what's interesting about that, Dragon, is that I kind of got a little bit of an appetite for Batman in Japan. So guess what I watched?
Batman Ninja.
Yes, I did, and
Yeah.
let's just say that animation has a lot of line work in it.
Well, again, they did like the CG look on it, though. That's how they managed that. That's the
Yeah,
difference.
yeah.
And
And
drawing.
yeah, we'll talk about that movie in memoirs because it's pretty fucking crazy. I
It
never
is.
actually looked up a plot synopsis for it before going into it.
Well, neither did I. Anyway, so point being, you didn't want to rip that off. So there's this comic artist, Cliff Chang, who's been basically doing some deep pulls, and his Batman has kind of Bob Kane ears. So the old Bob Kane Batman ears really kind of stick out like that. Therefore, Bruce Timm wanted to kind of, okay, what if the logic was when he's in the bat suit, he gets the edge? That kind of, because Bruce Wayne, compared to the four of them, he's the weakest martial artist. But when he puts the bat suit on, he's a little better because he's got, the whole superstitious and cowardly lot angle going for him. Therefore, we make him a practical Batman. Therefore, we give the Neil Adams Batman kind of the black cape and cowl and some Bob Kane ears, and Bob's your uncle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing though, Tiki. I love how the suit kind of complements him in that regard. I love the nightclub fight in particular. That was an awesome bat entrance, whereas like Bruce Wayne's like fighting for his life in that scene, but the lights go out. Batman shows up, he takes him out in less than 5 seconds. That's amazing. It's awesome. Yeah. Okay, 70s Batmobile. What do you think?
I don't know, Trey. I don't have strong opinions of it either way. It's cool. It's cool.
I just mean the whole chase sequence.
I mean, honestly, Dragon, that's what a lot of my thoughts in this movie kind of come down to is it's cool. I thought it was more like we've already passed the half-hour threshold here, so I don't have a ton of thoughts on this thing, man. We're gonna have to.
That's fine. It's fine. Well, regardless, it's just this. I like. I don't know. I thought it looked kind of cool.
I just think this movie is just conceptually very interesting and cool, but it's not the deepest thing in the world by any means. I mean,
sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say I like the blue highlights on it too. That was kind of the main. Like, what do you think? Like the blue highlights, but that's fine.
So yeah, like aesthetically, no, I agree. The blue highlights are good, and that's something you don't usually see with a Batmobile design. So, props to it. Like most everything else, it's pretty visually appealing in this movie.
Well, anyway, just to wrap up the Batman of it all before we just kind of go through some other stuff, quickly. I guess is that again, I like the arc very much being like Batman trying not to lose himself to the Lone Crusade, embracing the Bruce Wayne side of himself as well as the Batman side, which is kind of like through his friends.
That's definitely the best thematic tie to Batman in the movie. Yeah. I think I could really relate to the Silver St. Cloud thing. Like him. He wants to tell her. It's like it's a really good kind of like Raimi Spider-Man-esque moment. You know what I mean?
It is, because you do feel bad for him, because he looks like he really liked that girl, which in the comics he does. He really did like Silver St. Cloud.
Uh-huh.
And again, I love Batman saving the kid from being sacrificed, like literally honoring the mission right there, where like, again, everyone else has kind of made their big awesome thing in that third act, and Batman shows up to save that kid. Sorry, it's a really cool moment. All right, yeah, so let's just let's do some of the other guys here. So, I mean, what overall? I mean, Richard Dragon. So, I mean, again, going in is pretty clean. You and I pretty much simpatico on the Richard Dragon thing, just kind of going into it blind here. Is that he's
I mean, like I say, he's not the deepest thing in the world, but conceptually he's cool. I think the cold open really showcases him very well, and honestly, I kind of wish there was a little bit more of the Bond espionage stuff that we get in the cold open throughout the movie. Because it's weird. I feel like when the movie first started, tell me if I'm off base with this at all, Dragon, but when the movie first started, I kind of thought we were going to get kind of like this cool, like, combination James Bond, Bruce Lee thing going on with Richard Dragon. And as the movie progresses, it kind of just turns into straight Bruce Lee, which isn't bad at all. I just thought there'd be a little bit more of a fusion between the two, judging by the opening.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, the most kind of Bondian thing we get after that is like, there's an island in the third act and we parachute down to it. But yeah, you're not wrong. Because that thing, he is a spy in the comics. That's the idea. So basically,
right,
that's
right.
But also, again, importantly though, this was he was not Asian in the comics. It's a big change. But importantly, I thought it was an improvement, if you ask me. I know very little about Richard Dragon in the comics.
Well,
but
let me ask you this: in the comics, is it like actually? And this is where I come down on anything like this. With Iron Fist, I'm not saying that freaking Iron Fist was pulled off well, but I am saying that the character of Danny Rand, it is pretty pivotal that he is a white guy, just for the basis of the character. So
yeah, so I want to be clear. Yeah, you're talking about that. It's not remotely the same thing. Where again,
okay.
so again, Richard Dragon. Again, it's like he's still a martial artist and everything. He trains with O Sensei and all that stuff. So pretty much, he was just he happened to be in the area. He was not.
So I love how they just brutally kill the one other white guy in the group besides Bruce Wayne, and when it turns out he's basically a Nazi.
Pretty much, or a cultist, or whatever have you. Yeah,
that was honestly one of my favorite moments. Just especially, why that was one of my favorite moments too is at first I thought it was going to be like this guy was going to be like the twist villain of the movie, right? Like, oh, you think this other guy is the main villain, but no, he's actually working for this guy the whole time. And but no, it's like this guy just gets wasted.
Yep. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, absolutely. You know, actually, for a moment, I thought he was going to be the guy with the snake hands. For a moment, I thought that was going to be the big reveal. Like, oh god, he was wearing those glasses the whole time, but it was him.
Right. Yeah.
Not at all the case. Not at all the case. But anyway, so yeah. Also, again, just the whole thing, and not the same as the Iron Fist thing. Iron Fist, at this point, is that again, he has to. It's kind of a Western learning the ways. Learning the ways of a new culture. That's the Iron Fist point. Everyone's like, it's not anyone saying, wait, what about the Iron Fist? He's not the same. Okay, he needs that. Richard Dragon, not so much. All he needs are the moves, which again makes it better. He's Bruce Lee, which is awesome. Anyway, so yeah, but again, here's the thing. The biggest complaint I've heard lobbed at the movie, which I disagree with. I'm going to put it this way. It's not so much a complaint, but I'm just to explain is that everyone's saying, it's like Batman shouldn't have been in this movie at all, which, I mean, it would have been still interesting. I still would have watched it if Batman wasn't in it, but let's be honest.
Frankly, I think if Batman wasn't in it, but Bruce Wayne was, I think it would be really cool. But I think you need the Bruce Wayne component as a hook, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Bruce Wayne component because again, it lends itself to the martial arts background on him, and it kind of feeds into everything else, which is great. But what I'm saying is, I think a lot of people have overly magnified that, just saying Batman shouldn't be shouldn't have been in the movie. Where it's like, come on, I like a little connecting point with Bruce having some with these four people, but also,
like I said, I'm kind of two minds of it because I think it would have been a bold artistic choice if we just if we talked about Batman but never actually saw him.
No. I just mean like if Bruce Wayne wasn't in the story at all.
Oh yeah, right. No, I agree.
That's the overmagnification.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's the overmagnification. Like we just take that character out of there completely, which is I think is a mistake. But here's why I think we kind of get that overmagnification. It's kind of like this whole why is Batman?
Do that, it basically just becomes a generic kung fu story.
Which again, interesting characters. Don't get me wrong. Just even if you take Batman out of the equation, but still, what I'm saying is, I think
take Batman out of the equation, it lacks its fusion element. Honestly,
sure. But the other thing too is, I think is because we just did such a great job at introducing Richard Dragon. I think he stole Batman's line. I think he was kind of the de facto breakout star of the piece because that James Bond opening was so cool. And I was in love with this character.
I would like to see a whole of Richard Dragon in spy mode. I would definitely watch that.
That's what I'm saying because people are so blown away by that. It happened to be the first scene of the movie, and then we had like a Bond opening right after that. I was like, oh yeah, Batman's in this movie too. But I just love this whole. Like the moment he pulled out the little fingerprint maker and then the spy camera, I was like, okay, I love this character. I'm good. I'm in. And I love that Bruce and Richard Dragon were really close to O Sensei, and and of course O Sensei, one of the great James Hong. I think James Hong gave a great performance as O Sensei. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean it's a pretty stock role, just the wise martial arts mentor, kind of the Obi-Wan Kenobi figure, if you will. But he plays it very well.
Yeah, kept it kind of light and gentle, kind of like he felt like genuinely wise.
Not saying it's as good as Iroh, but it's kind of in that same vein.
Sure. I know no one could be Iroh. Let's be honest.
Of course.
Yeah, like these. Here's the one thing with Richard Dragon. Then we'll get to some of the other guys, which I'm sure are going to go by a little quicker. So the one problem I had with Richard Dragon in the movie is that because again he was made such a splash in the opening, and then we kind of get a little bit less from him as it goes on. Is that we kind of tee up some big ideas towards the end. I just feel like I really wanted to know a little bit more about Richard Dragon because I assume, given the conversation at the end, that O Sensei protected Richard Dragon. He was kind of the favorite under the radar because his destiny was to become the host and vessel of Naga, the serpent god, the big snake god guy.
Yeah, honestly, the movie does kind of like build it up. Like when you first meet him, he's like, "Oh, and this guy's been here the longest," and you don't really know why per se.
Until that scene, which still, I mean, it's enough, but I wanted more.
Yeah, I
All
feel
right.
you on that.
All right, then we have Lady Shiva and Bronze Tiger. Of course, Lady Shiva, the wonderful Kelly Hu, and Bronze Tiger, Michael J. White, who, by the way, plays that character in live action on the Arrow show. He played Bronze Tiger, and
Does he?
yes,
That's neat. That's a neat little crossover.
yeah, he really likes that character. And also, the fun thing is that this take on the character, his origins are parallel Michael J. White. I don't know if that was like a deep pull from the comics, or maybe they kind of made the character and the actor a little sympathetic, and that he grew up with
I
anger
gotta
issues.
tell you, it always warms my heart when when people in live action can cross over into the voice acting industry in terms of like Matthew Lillard is a great example of Matthew Lillard nowadays is arguably even better known for being the voice of Shaggy for a generation than playing Shaggy in 2 movies. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Again, he's
Like
kind
I
of
really
taking
like
over.
when that kind of stuff happens. It just makes everything feel a little bit more like simpatico of anyways.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's kind of nice. Like kind of channeled in life. This character channeled his anger issues through fighting, which apparently Michael J. White has also done in life. It's kind of nice. It kind of bugs me that in the flashbacks we kind of dress him like Luke Cage, but still, Bronze Tiger.
How can you resist that temptation, though?
Yeah, we gave him the afro and everything. It's like, yeah, kind of go for the '70s Power Man look, I
I
guess.
mean, like I said, like I agree it's a little derivative, but it's one of the derivative things in this movie I don't really have a problem with because it's so obvious. It'd be like honestly, it'd be kind of out of place if you had a character like this and he never had that look in a movie like this.
Sure. I mean, a part of me, like, it's a little gripe. I mean, I wish he had the claws a little bit more because that's like his signature weapon, hence the tiger namesake. It kind of has those. He only had him in the
Yeah, there's like
flashback, but
one moment with him and the kid in the claws, and that's about it.
yeah, just that little flashback moment. But
Uh,
but I mean, still, I mean, I think he was really well represented. Again, I love the White Rice flashback, and because yet again, I love that in these moments, even though Bruce Wayne, again, uncharacteristically, he's getting the crap beat out of him. He's that's happening. It's demonstrating one of the great elements of Batman. He doesn't give up. It's almost like it's pretty much his "I can do this all day" moment.
mhm.
It's or I guess through the Batman lens more accurately. What do we do when why do we fall? That sort of thing. So we get back up. I love that each of these characters have kind of have a response after losing their sensei. That Bronze Tiger really wonderfully. He's becoming a sensei in his own right. He's kind of going through the Cobra Kai experience. He's teaching. He's teaching the kids. The inner city
I gotta
kids.
tell
How
you,
to defend
Dragon, I'm
themselves.
rewatching Cobra Kai right now, and it really is amazing how much growth those characters go through. Like from the start of season 1 to what I know is going to go down in season 3. Like they laid the groundwork on that so well. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get into a whole side Cobra Kai thing, but like I can't bring it up on memoirs because obviously I've already seen Cobra Kai, but like I got to tell you, man, it's so cool seeing like the early episodes, seeing like like Eli and oh, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the other
Dimitri.
one's name. Dimitri, yes. Like seeing those two, and Eli is like even more pathetic than Dimitri in some ways, and I'm like, oh, I know where this is going. It's so cool. Anyways, and of course, I'm watching with my dad who doesn't know what's going to happen. So, all right. Anyways, I'm sorry. Back on point.
One thing I love that he's again that was a really sweet scene that we gave J.I. White where he's mentoring the kid who's really having a lot of self doubt. It was a beautiful kind of PS a real Coke and a smile moment. I love it. Where he's like he's giving that kid really good advice, and also we kind of thrust a big moment with Bronze Tiger in that flashback. He didn't kill the main villain of the film when he was a kid because he was a kid. which which is nice. Just again, just kind of giving. I love that again. Bronstein is all about kind of the machismo, and he's all about the strength and everything. Where again, he was one of the toughest SOBs at that. As we saw. I mean, he'll kick you kick you all around for eating the last bowl of rice. The anger issues were real, and yet guy could be a teddy bear when he was on your side, but
Yeah, yeah.
also ultimately there's a weakness of character that kind of created the rise of Cobra.
Mhm.
Main problem. Okay, so Lady Shiva, just okay. I'm just going to fill you in Lady Shiva real quick. Is that one of the most skilled fighters in the DC
Name
universe?
sounds familiar, Dragon. Have I come across her at all before that you know of?
Once you come across her in the when we talked about the Arkham Origins game, she was one of the assassins.
The Arkham. Oh, okay, okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
And I probably brought her up during maybe when we talked Gotham, the speculation stages,
Sure.
perhaps. But yeah,
Yeah.
so Lady Shiva. So she is one of the most skilled fighters in the DC universe. Like she's fought Batman a lot, and again, she's always such an interesting character. And it's so rare that we get her in animation. I thought this was a great take on her. And Kelly, who she was in Arrow, was a different character, but I like kind of putting. She's done animation, she's done voices and everything. And again,
Mhm.
I love giving her like such a great character. Like, she's perfect for Lady Shiva. And again, could play her in live action too. Honestly, that's the thing with all these stunt performers. Any one of them could have played the ensemble in live action. Because again, Richard Dragon, Mark Dacascos, he was one of the best parts of John Wick 3. So he's delightful. So he got he
I
could have
still
been.
haven't seen the John Wick sequels, Dragon.
Yeah, three's a lot of fun, Tiki. But anyway.
I should give it. It's just me with action movies, man. It takes a lot for me to be invested in it. But I mean, I don't know.
Anyway, point being, so of course, like Lei Shiva gets some. Each character gets at least one really cool thing to do. Like Lei Shiva gets to kick the crap out of kick the crap out of Rip Jagger, which I keep wanting to call him by his comic. His comic name was Judo Master, something really dumb. It was just.
I don't think Rip Jagger is a particularly not dumb name either. Honestly.
Yeah. He was from the Charlton Comics days. So the characters that were reworked for Watchmen, he was one of those characters.
Oh,
so
okay. Interesting.
So they took him, and his whole thing was judo. Hence the reason he shows up here. And anyway, so like she beats the crap out of that guy with one finger, which is awesome. Which then we see horrifically done when that Lady Eve gets killed. Like, oh god, when she basically causes like internal bleeding when she kills Lady Eve. Oh, it's horrific. But yeah, I like seeing her as like the crime boss of the Chinatown district, and of course, complicated dynamic with her old pal Bruce Wayne, given their diametrically opposed sides. One woman who can intimidate Batman, just my God.
Yeah,
Like,
I love that beat of just like Batman just being like, I haven't gotten around to it yet.
because one, it's like he doesn't want to fight his friend, but two, it's like she's really good. I mean, she was the top martial artist. I mean, I'm still in kind of I'm coming out of my year one phase right now in the 70s.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can
like
handle
maybe
that.
like Batman year 3.
I mean, probably that's the thing because there is
Like
assumingly like 10 year. He still had trains after O Sensei dies, so maybe like another 9 years goes by, and then once he's putting on the suit, it's like he's probably like year 2 or something. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, like her failure was she wanted to guard she failed at guarding the sword. She was the one. She was the prodigy of the whole school, and she lost the sword. Therefore, that's her guilt. So she's kind of working through. And again, as I mentioned, I like the logical assemblage of the gang. Like, hey, we need the sword because the gate's gone. Next step is the sword. Who has the sword? Lady Shiva. Okay, who knows something about Cobra? It's going to be Bronze Tiger, and vice versa. Speaking of Cobra, let's talk about our bad guys overall.
Okay, I got to tell you, literally nothing that any of the bad guys do in the whole movie tops the opening scene for the bad guy.
You really like that scene, eh?
Dragon, are you really surprised? The dude fucking eats a mouse.
Well, I think it's from your Cobra Kai rewatch too.
I haven't gotten there yet, but yes, probably.
He does.
Seriously, man, it's such a twisted, like oh god, it's like she just she walks out and she just like walks into this like bizarre torture chamber thing. It's a pretty haunting way to go, man. I gotta tell you, it kind of stuck with me a little bit.
My favorite creepy detail of that scene, he tells her to dance, which he ain't talking to her, he's talking to the snakes. Dance for me.
Oh god.
But yeah,
I gotta tell you, other than that one moment, I didn't really think the villains had all that much of a presence.
You're not wrong for that because let me
The
tell
lizard
you.
people are cool. Like I like the fight where they couldn't use the swords, even though that's what they were clearly prepared to fight with. So that was fun.
Let me ask you something. One of my big kind of issues with the movie, I don't think it's something that kills the movie, but something that kind of took me maybe a little out of it, is that how do you feel about kind of the Big Trouble Little China supernatural kind of third act, like all the snake, basically the reveal that
Well, like
behind
I
the
said,
gate
that's
lies.
when it becomes like Raiders territory, and
Yeah,
I mean, I got to tell you, Dragon, it fits in. It's like more in place here than it is in something like, let's say, oh, I don't know, Scoob, for example. You know, the whole Death Day portal into hell.
mhm, right.
But
Well, again, the difference is we don't just have like a little get out of jail free card at the end of that one, so that's the
oh
difference here
god,
than
don't get me
Scoop.
started. Oh, anyway,
No, no, but I mean, like that. So that didn't take it. Kind
not
of
that I
read it
even
more like an
fucking cared about Will Forte Shaggy in the first place, but
okay,
whatever.
okay, refocusing. So the point being, like, you kind of read it, you kind of took the basically the gate and then the whole snake god thing is kind of more of like a Raiders sort of thing. So you kind of you were on board for it.
Yeah. I was on board for it just because we got some cool kind of supernatural shenanigans out of it. I honestly did really like the last confrontation with O Sensei. I thought that was some pretty creative like Exorcist style shit going on there.
Yep. Yes. You know what's interesting? Not much on Cobra is that so Cobra is always they're a hard sell in DC, and they're really hard to adapt properly. And that Cobra again because it's like okay, we have this big old kind of snake cult, and they're kind of like a little bit more pseudoscience and like they more technology than they are like the magic and everything. So that was kind of a change for
Correct me
them.
if I'm wrong, but I pretty much read them as just the hand, right? Like
I
more or less.
I mean, the hand's cooler, but I mean, sure, it's as I'm saying, Cobra kind of gets the short end of the stick a lot of the time. It's kind of hard to make these guys cool,
Can
especially
you
in the
just
era.
call them Cobra Kai?
I don't think so, but
I
I
I
think I
think you
said
did.
Ken. I think, but I'm fine. Maybe I. Well, if I did, I'm sorry. Okay.
I'm
Um.
sorry, it's just amusing. But
Anyway, that's the thing. So Cobra. Good. Now I lost my train of thought. Anyway, so it's Cobra always gets kind of the raw end of the stick because they're kind of hard to adapt properly. They're 'cause again, it's like like just these Cobra guys. I guess maybe I said guys. Maybe that was it. I don't know. Sorry, regardless.
yeah, that's probably what you said, honestly.
Is that hey these Cobra guys just kind of come out of they kind of come out of left field, and especially in the era of getting the Cobra Commander and everything from GI Joe. I mean, they're always
Mhm.
kind of in competition with that around the time they're coming out. It's like okay, well, hey, this this giant mystery snake cult that we should care about, and this is I think this is probably the best you're going to be able to do Cobra in that you gave them kind of like the real creepy culty opening and just kind of the culty vibe, which really plays well in the '70s, and that was kind of the big feather in their cap here because basically they tried adapting these guys in the DC animated universe and Batman Beyond, but let me put it this way: they did kind of like a whole kind of body horror snake thing, but it did not go. It did not transfer as well as it did here. I'll say that much. It got really weird and really dumb.
Mhm.
Anyway, but I mean, ultimately, Act Three for me, it's weird, but it plays. And again, it's got like a John Carpenter angle. Like again, the guy with the sorry, I'm going to mispronounce this guy's name. It's Schnagenfaust. Schnagenfaust, he's got like the weird, like the snake fingers and the snake arms that can then turn into like a whole nother giant snake creature guy. It's creepy. I love the other henchman too. We got King Snake. That's Bane's dad in the comics, by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah, the guy with the guy with the blindfold. The blind. Basically, he is a blind fighter. King Snake is Bane's
He's pretty
father.
much like a self-imposed daredevil, right? Like that's pretty much the
Yeah,
vibe I was getting.
pretty much. Just more egotistical, but yeah, pretty much. Yes, I mean the henchmen were cool overall. I think I kind of bought into the henchmen more than maybe it's kind of like the big what's
They didn't
behind
have
the
a
gate.
ton of screen time, but I thought the final fight with them was good.
So the only before we kind of talk about the ending itself, and we'll pretty much wrap this puppy up. The issue an issue I had. So again, Rip Jagger, like writing that guy, like killing that guy off and making him like the little turncoat in the midst, like that's fine because he's like a deep cut. No one knows who Rip Jagger is.
Sure.
That's perfectly fine. But I'll tell you, there's one thing I'm surprised fans haven't gotten a little more peeved by this, but there's one character they really wasted because I got really excited. Like, hey, they put this character in this. I didn't see that coming because I was expecting, the main ensemble. Jade, remember the other lady who was at
Yeah,
the
whatever
bar?
happened to her?
Oh yeah, she got killed like by the sword, the Soul Breaker sword. That
Right. Yeah, that was a waste.
Yeah, so Jade, she's Cheshire in the comics and other stuff. So she becomes like this really cool kind of masked, kind of most dangerous agent sort of type, like assassin, mercenary, you name it. She one of the yeah, she's a really cool character. People love her in Young Justice. She's a really cool character in that. And we got a good actress. We got Jamie Chung. We got Go-Go from Big Hero 6. We got her playing the role too. And I was like, okay. And we kind of built up like a rivalry between her and Shiva and everything. And it's like, and we just killed her off. We didn't even let her put on the
No, I
mask.
barely even remembered that she died, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. We really wasted her. I was like, look, if you don't want to do much with her, I mean, don't put her in there. What are you doing?
Yeah, that
No,
was.
I mean, yeah, but I think that's pretty much like the worst thing to say about the movie, though. That and we just kind of again, I don't know, maybe the O Sensei fight. I don't know. The possessed O Sensei thing again, it works. It's dramatic and it's cool. It just feels like maybe we drag things on a little bit lengthwise. I don't know, but it gets us more importantly, it gets us to the really good ending, which we should talk about. So the really, the ending, I respect how ambitious this ending is. Do you?
I mean, yeah, of course. I respect the hell out of the fact that, like, by all intents and purposes, it's pretty much like the Toy Story 3 thing, except we don't see them make it out alive.
Yeah. Of course, I was so happy with this. Like, they all Batman pulls a dramatic bat exit to save the day. It's like,
Uh,
hey, they're all saying their goodbyes to O Sensei. And seriously, though, O Sensei had some beautiful moments with Richard and calling him son and everything, and of course telling Batman his parents would be proud of him. I thought that was beautiful. And of course. Batman just was, hey, where's White Rice? Says Ben Turner, and we reveal Batman walked through the. Of course he did. He's going to save the day. Walk through the portal, which is going to be interesting given we don't have much time left in this movie. And then he's joined by his friends, and I just love the
yeah,
confidence.
I was pretty like wrapped up in the movie, so I wasn't really checking the timestamp. So I was like, wait a minute, are we going to get like a whole like another act? Like, is this like the real Act 3 here? I was kind of thrown off for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, the master had to die again, man. How do we get more dramatic than that? Like, well, no, they're all going to hell essentially. They're going to a hell-like snake dimension with their. By the way, the snake bad guy also went back in that dimension, as in he's not dead. So, so there's trouble on the horizon, kids. He's got a whole horde that's supposed to be on their way, and he's back there. But I got to tell you, I love to see what they went for here, Tiki, is they're trying to do it like Butch and Sundance. Like some of the 70s movies end on really down beats, like basically down but triumphant beats. Like, down but hopeful.
Sure, yeah.
Like, like they're going out in the hail of bullets, but you're rooting for them. Like there's a chance they could survive. It's not good, but there's a chance. But here, I loved how earned it was. Like, there's a confidence at the end of this. Like, they have this really earned, corny 70s line Batman delivers, but it feels so earned by the end of the movie.
Absolutely.
And everything else.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, then. Let's get it on. And he has, like, the little hand gesture. Batman has a cocky move at the end where he's, like, doing the bring it. It's like, yeah!
Yeah, so what can I say, man? That just, I mean, you know me with endings. It's like, if an ending lands for me, I can really, it's a memorable part of a movie for me. It's like arguably the most important part of any story for me. So yeah, I think it landed.
Yeah, I mean, again, plus smart money. It's Batman, and you saw how well those other fighters are. I think they're going to be, they'll figure a way out. They're clever. They'll be okay.
Oh yeah,
They'll
yeah.
be okay. All right. Well, that's it. So, final thoughts, Steve. Unless you have anything else you really want to talk about.
No, I'm good. Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is a really fun one. It's not the most deep or complex. I don't have a ton to say about the characters or anything, but the art style was pretty on point, and the story was fun, and just the overall blend of genres was was right up my alley, and the ending stuck to landing. So it's one of the better. I'm not going to say it's one of the better DC animated movies because I haven't seen all of them. I don't know, but it's definitely one that for me, out of the ones I've seen, I could probably point to and be like, that one, I liked that one. And the Dragon, that's about the best you're gonna get out of me with DC animation. So
All right. And also, just one little note before I give my final thoughts here. Again, also the score was really good too. I love like the '70s, kind of funky. The Joaquin Horse Sleep score was really nice, and also that we went to Nanda Parbat. I forgot to mention that all the flashbacks. We went to Nanda Parbat, which is really cool. It's like kind of like the Himalayan kind of like mystical training place. So just
Mhm.
also getting that. All right, anyways, so final thoughts. Final thoughts for me. It's nice to see DC make proper use of the time period and actually set a movie in the '70s. I'm looking at you. I'm listening at the guilty party, so to speak. Certain set movies of recent. But one of the main gripes I have with
You're
that,
like one of the main defenders of that movie on the entire internet, and even you're saying that.
I'm just saying, like literally, I was really hoping, like, why couldn't we have set that in the '70s? And this movie actually is set in the '70s and made effective use of it. I'm just saying. But yeah, seriously though, I just on back to a serious note. I was like, I really wish Denny O'Neil could have seen this, man. I think he would have loved it. He would have
Yeah.
really enjoyed this. But yeah, this is how I like the DC animated original films. It's not mired or hindered by its limitations of continuity. It continues to get fun and experimental with the direct to videos. With luck, maybe that spirit rubs off in the live action counterparts. Going forward, it looks like we might be getting out some stuff like Suicide Squad. Who knows? I mean, again, this is kind of like we need just some fun stuff that celebrates the history, but it's doing its own thing. It's not modern. Like we need to connect this to that. Let's just have fun with it, man. And it was once said that we need dramatic examples to shake us from apathy. In this case, some funky examples don't hurt either. That's what this movie is. It's kind of funky in all the right ways.
All right. So thanks to Orange Crush 76 for coming on. Happy to have you. And yeah, we'll be briefly recapping this movie on Memoirs along with a lot of other stuff we watched in January coming up on Friday. Until then, see you guys later. Have a good night.
Say, Jim, that's a bad outfit.